You're listening to Two Babies in a Business, a podcast about business, marketing, growth, strategy, staff clients, babies, and marriage. I'm Christina. This is Peter. We're founders and leaders of CIPR Communications. And Peter, given that we say we talk about babies and marriage, it is September. So our kids have been, when this airs, our kids will have been back in school for a couple weeks. But yeah, it's an exciting time of year.
It is a very exciting time of year. Summers are excellent, but I guess being a parent with kids in school during the summer is a very different experience than I think not being that. Summers are quite different, so it's all good. We had a great summer, but nice to have more of that stable, consistent calendar. Some consistency is nice.
I'll share a little story of the kids too. So at the beginning of the month, we had Meet the Teacher Day. Our boys are in kindergarten this year, which is awesome. They did junior kindergarten last year, so it's not too big of an adjustment for them or for us, but it was really interesting to me to see their personalities really shine on Meet the Teacher Day. So Bartek suited up. He had a tie on, his fanciest shirt that he could find, just a dapper young man he is. And Jake, I think he had like camo pants, an Iron Man shirt, Batman socks, bright yellow slip-on sandals. Yes, socks and sandals. And just came as he was. Looked just as cute as his brother, but certainly it was interesting to me, even in that moment, to see their personalities really shine.
Mm-hmm. Final story about kids is yesterday Bartek told us about one of his teachers said she was very, very good looking. He's like 4 years old, so that was not nothing.
Well, and what was funny about that, I don't know if you got it, he told us that, and then I was asking him to qualify, like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, good looking like that other teacher. So there's multiple good looking teachers on his radar.
Good times. Anyway, speaking of good looking, we're talking about how to continually improve your website. So this is a bit of a continuation of our last podcast, which was about website maintenance, where we kind of talked about, obviously, if you have a website maintenance program, that includes some hours of editing every month. Obviously, those hours of editing could contribute towards improving your website continually. And I'll just say that both your website and overall marketing, and especially digital marketing, is, in my opinion, the practice of incremental continuous improvement. Perfection, it's great to try to make a perfect website, but the world isn't perfect. The world changes, your business changes, and your assets, your website being your main most important digital asset, needs to improve and change with your business. So I don't want people to sort of listen to this and be like, oh, well, you're going to build me a website and it'll already need improvement. It's like, your business is constantly improving. We always talk about our business as we're building the car collectively together while we're driving it at 100 miles an hour down the highway. Obviously, things need to change on that car as it changes, and it needs to be improved. So I think the same analogy could work here.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, on the side of a website project where you're trying to launch a website, I think this should give people the peace of mind that it doesn't need to be the ultimate vision of perfection upon launch. And yes, it has to be the ultimate vision of perception when it comes to the design and the user experience and the look and feel. But I know lots of clients and people in general who get really stuck on, oh, this page, this third level page on my website doesn't have the perfect photo. We can't launch.
Yeah. In fact, we have a client, or maybe even a couple clients right now, that are paying us monthly to essentially keep their website in a staging environment until they get the perfect photos. that's their choice. Wouldn't be the choice I made. I'd say get your new website up and update your photos when you have them ready, right? Don't let perfection get in the way of progress, because, as I alluded to earlier, it's like there's constant progress and constant change, and those perfect photos today might not even be the perfect photos tomorrow. So, I think Christina, really, it's an incremental process of improvement over time. So I think a lot of people really get hung up on this. It's a real barrier for people sometimes.
Yeah. And this is where too, I give that advice. Show the staging link to someone who's not so close, right? Show it to your spouse or show it to a good friend. And if they stop on something and go, this is horrendous, then okay, that's what I would call a showstopper, and let's fix it before you go live. But that image that you're hung up on, because you're so close to your business, it seems like a really big hang up to you. But someone who is a little bit removed or a lot removed from that day-to-day in that business is not going to really notice or focus on that. And if they do, that's a good signal for you in that regard. And then bringing it back to our house analogy that we've used throughout this series, I think about us in our house. And when we moved in, there were horrendous curtains on every window in this house. They were homemade. Our house,
it's gross. They were gross.
They were gross. I'm sitting in my office right now, and I remember they were in here, and I still have the old curtain rod. We've been in this house for going on 10 years soon, and they were horrendous, dark burgundy, heavy, terrible. And it was 4 years ago. It would have been just 4, right after the kids were born, that in this particular room, we finally got blinds. Yeah. And it's that continuous improvement. And did those curtains hurt anyone in our house? No, because frankly, no one was actually even using this room. Was it fine to look at from the outside? Did anyone notice? Did anyone who actually stayed in this room when it was a spare bedroom care? No. So it's kind of that piece. And if you're sitting in your home right now and you're thinking about all those little projects you have to do to make your house better, it doesn't mean that your house isn't livable, and it doesn't mean your house isn't welcoming to someone else, but it means that you want to make it better, and it's going to evolve as your family evolves as your life evolves. Same with your website.
And I think this is just human nature. So this is, we can get beyond now. We're talking about 2 babies in a business, but there's this all or nothing mentality that people have. Get rid of that mentality in business and life and everything. And it's not all or nothing. It's you can take it off in little chunks. That your point about the we've been updating our blinds in our house for really the 10 years that we've lived here. And because the blinds we get are very expensive, and they're hey. So obviously we did the ones where in our main floor where most people see them first, because those are the primary ones that are the where outsiders see them. And then we've been up, obviously our bedroom, because that's where we sleep, was the next priority, because we wanted dark. And then when our kids were born, their bedroom became a priority. And the last one was your office, right? Because so it's your website's exactly the same. It's not all or nothing. You don't have to think that way. So it's super important. Now, the other thing I'll say too is, I think the best program to be on for sort of continuous website improvement is actually SEO, because SEO is really, first of all, search engines, Google, let's talk about Google, wants to see fresh content on your website all the time. Google wants to see or reward people or companies for making, adding pages, making changes, making content better, that kind of thing. That's actually helps you in terms of ranking and being found online. So that's a key thing. But also just continuous improvement in terms of making sure your website speed's working, making sure any broken links are fixed, making sure any of that kind of technical stuff that's happening. That's sort of it needs to be an ongoing thing. And all of those types of things are built into an SEO program. So the beauty about SEO is that not only are you actively working towards sort of being found for the things that your clients are trying to find you for, you want your clients to find you for, but you're also then making continuous improvements to your website over time, just naturally as part of the program. So, I would say first of all, I would just say the number one most important program probably for almost any business is SEO when it comes to digital marketing, because, similar to how a website is an asset for your business, your search rankings are an asset for your business. Imagine selling your business and telling the person that you're selling your business to, we rank for number one on Google for these 30 keywords. And we drive this much business as a result of those rankings, because, we are at the top of our industry when it comes to being found online for the key phrases. So, that in itself has a massive amount of value, but then obviously the continual improvement to your website, incremental improvement that sort of is built into an SEO program, adds even more value. So, that's my plug for search engine optimization and content marketing. It's in my opinion, it's so foundationally important for every single business. And frankly, last comment on this is that it's only moving more in that direction. And it's only getting more technical and more complex. And so, if your business isn't getting into that game now, in 3 to 5 years, you're gone. You have zero chance of you're gonna have a really hard time catching up, right? And so we often do these competitive analysis for clients, and it's like, you compare against the leader in your industry, and it's like, hey, great that you want to rank well on Google, but it's like, hey, your industry competitor has been doing this for 5 years. There's so much more ahead of you. It's crazy that it's just going to take time to catch up, right? So Get on it.
Yeah, I think too, SEO is an interesting, so we approach it from that content side of things. So what are those monthly content themes? What are you going to be driving towards, which actually really helps you have a great line of sight to what needs to be updated on your website. So I think about your homepage image. So that image that you spent months in your website project trying to perfect and find the perfect one, well, it's a beautiful summer shot of your resort, or it's a beautiful winter wonderland photo of your destination, or it's a staff member that has now moved on and left your manufacturing business. Every season, you need to be updating I need to when you visit a website and it just seems so far removed from the current experience that people are having, again, you come across dated right away. Or, if you're trying to demonstrate who your team is or build legitimacy in different factors, maybe you've just got a, important certification or an important award or recognition. It's like all these things need to be continually added to your site. So not only does Google like that, but your customers are going to like that too. That Google experience is important. And I think that's where SEO comes in. And then that directly kind of ties to your customer and your viewer of your website. Even our current clients, every once in a while, you'll get one of them that pops into your inbox that's like, oh, I was on your website and I just noticed that you do this thing. And that's because maybe we've moved it around. We've put some more attention on it. We've maybe driven traffic there purposefully, but all those things matter. And so to think that you're going to launch a site and it's just going to sit there and be great for the next year or two, and then you're going to embark on another website project is crazy to me. And I think too, to add to that is, as a business owner, and I think this is a lesson I've learned recently and still learn, it's like your business evolves all the time. Peter's breaking things over there. Your business evolves all the time. So the content on your website's obviously going to evolve. And it's not just the people that are evolving and changing on your website. It's the services you offer, or it's how you offer those services, or it's the values you bring to the table, or like I said before, a new certification. It's like, those are stories you need to tell. And I love that in an SEO program, you can build content and tell those stories, but also you should be thinking about your overall website and how that translates to those pieces too.
Yeah, and I'm going to get a little more kind of technical now, because there's also a very technical component of this. Is so again, your website's purpose should be for your business to drive business. And so, if you think about okay, are you getting conversions on your website? Are people, bouncing at a high rate from your website? So, the other kind of piece that's important to this is really kind of actually like reading your statistics and your data and making sense of it. And so this is really obviously where an agency like us can help. We work with a great company called Site Tuners that does conversion rate optimization. And so there's a lot of insights and data that can be gathered. So, are people coming onto your website and bouncing off quickly? If that's happening, you need to fix that because your website's not functioning properly. Yeah. Are they visiting multiple pages on your website when they're on there? Or are they just going on one and leaving, after time? Like there's a lot of data and a lot of, are they getting to your forms, but you're not getting them filled out because you have too many form fields, right? So there's a lot of technical improvements that you can be making to your website to improve it. And a lot of these types of things, like if you work with a conversion rate, if we're working with you on conversion rate optimization, it's not like, oh, here's what we think that needs to be done, make these changes and we're done. It's like, no, it's like make changes, see how the data improves. Make changes, it's a constant sort of incremental improvement kind of game because think about the economic value of you're spending a lot of money to get people to get to your website. Imagine if you can make the people that come to your website convert 25% better.
Yeah.
That makes every single dollar spent on marketing 25% more efficient. That has a lot of value, economic value to your business. And so obviously, we spent the beginning of this talking about look and feel and all this kind of stuff and making sure it's relevant in terms of what your business is all about. But then, it's really the next phase is really driving your business goals in terms of what is your website doing for you and what are those metrics doing for you. And, a lot of people, there's a lot of vanity. I mean, a lot of companies in digital marketing can get you tons, and we've seen this with a lot of clients, they can get you tons and tons of traffic to your website, completely irrelevant. So, we took over an SEO program for a client in the tourism space where, they had thousands and thousands of visitors. And if you started to dig down on their data, many of the pages that were attracting a lot of visitors had bounce rates of like 90, 95, 98%. So that means basically people were getting to the website, it wasn't really what they were looking for, and they were bouncing off. And the reason for that is because the SEO company they were working with previously was basically creating SEO articles that were not really totally relevant to their business, but kind of marginally relevant to their business. But when people got to that website, it was like, well, it's not like this is a company that does this, and I was looking for information about this, not what I'm looking for. And so, a lot of people get excited about vanity metrics, like how many people are visiting my website, which is important, but more important questions to ask are how many of the right people are visiting my website. And so that's about digging deeper into your statistics, understanding bounce rates, understanding how many, time on page, how many pages per visit. If somebody's getting to your website, spending 5 minutes on your website, seeing 4 or 5 pages, that is the right person that should be on your website. So, it's better to have less of those people than a lot of the wrong people, right? So, so I guess that sort of continually improving. So I'll just sort of finish with that client. We removed tons and tons of pages from his website because there's also crawl budgets. So Google will only crawl a certain number of pages on your website. So they had literally hundreds of pages on their website that weren't even getting crawled by Google, weren't even being found by Google, because all of these other pages that were attracting the wrong people were essentially taking the crawl budget. And so we've been kind of improving and making his website smaller with more relevant information to answer the questions of his target audience. And overall, the overall process of improvement there is to get the right people to your website, making the right moves, i.e. filling out your form and actually becoming a client. So, sort of like really digging deep and telling the picture of or understanding the picture of what your data is saying is really important as you're thinking about, improving the economic value of your website for your business.
Yeah, I think the notion of the crawl budget, because this was something like when we got into digital marketing, it's something I learned about. And I just think it's so interesting because I think a lot of people may think about continuously improving their website by adding more and more. And no, it's about adding more relevant content or
making it better,
republishing the content that has worked well and updating it. And, Brad was talking to one of our clients yesterday and they were exploring kind of a SEO page that they're building together right now. And Brad said, look, like in this first quarter, let's build this page and focus on content, and focus on the next level of pages that come out of this page. And then in that second quarter, let's go back to this page and start to add video and photos and
infographics.
Let's update, maybe add some icons or infographics to your point, or maybe there'll be new information that we can link to, or that's continuous improvement. Whereas I think, the old school mentality, or even, I'll say for myself, like the more uneducated mentality would be, okay, just add more, we're doing more, so let's do more. But yeah, I really love thinking about that budget. And I think about it as like someone like flipping through a big book. And so they flip through and they kind of skim a few pages and they flip this way, and I feel like it's the same thing, right? Like you have a few key pages or visuals or things that are going to pop out, and that person's going to make a decision that, yeah, I'm going to read this book, or yeah, I'm going to spend time with this, piece of literature. And I think it's the same with Google. Okay. It's flipping through. It doesn't have time to flip through every single page, but hey, if it likes what it sees and it thinks people like it too, it's going to throw it up there.
Yeah. And I'll just maybe end this with, you talked about sort of what Google wants. Really, let's just like really simply break down what Google wants, because it's the same thing actually that people want. So Google wants to deliver the best information with the best experience to the person looking for that information, period. The person looking for that information wants the best answers to their questions in the best experience. So best experience is all about, obviously, is it laid out properly? Does it make sense? Is it a fast, is the website fast? Does it load? All those types of technical things. And obviously the information is the information. So I think to what Christina is saying, it's like, rather than, writing blog after blog after blog after blog and just sort of like just churning out content, it's like, how about spending time improving the best pages you have about your core services and just keep making them better and better and better and better. Ultimately that is going to serve Google. It's going to serve the people on your web looking, finding your website or your potential customers, and it's going to serve you because basically you're giving your customers exactly what they want, or your potential customers exactly what you want, and helping them, get down your sales funnel to ultimately convert into clients, right? And building trust. So that's really the sweet spot of what you're trying to achieve on your website. And that's really fundamentally at the core of, continuous website improvement.
Exactly. Well, there you have it. You got to continually work on yourself, work on your home, work on your website.
Be the best version of yourself in person and online. There you go.
So true. Okay, well, that's websites. We're going to spend one more episode in this series talking about, you mentioned it today, a website quality audit, just to give people an idea of what that is and why it may be useful, especially before you head into a major redevelopment. It might save you some money or it might force you down a path. But that's it for today. CIPR Comms with 1M on all those social channels, iTunes, Spotify. Follow along. Make sure you get notified of that next episode. Thanks for joining in.
Bye.